At 6:15 a.m., the sun hadn't even broken the horizon when a swarm of 15 silent, relentless Ukrainian drones tore across the Gulf of Finland. Their target, Ust-Luga, Russia's colossal Baltic port, a fortress the Kremlin had long boasted was untouchable. They had flown 960 kilometers, their small engines singing a high-pitched death song, fuel tanks nearing fumes. Everything was holding, right up until the point a Russian patrol boat materialized out of the morning haze. The hunter had become the hunted. Tracers erupted. The 14.5mm machine gun on the Russian deck spat fire, walking a line across their formation. The rounds screamed between two of the drones, a shockwave felt only by the silent operators watching miles away near Kyiv. Then came the missiles. 3 Igla-S weapons, designed for helicopters, were fired in pure desperation at shadows in the dawn. The swarm fractured, scattering like shrapnel, some diving to just meters above the wave crests, others climbing. The Russian tried a gambler's move, track via missile. Fire a $2 million missile designed for a fighter jet and use the missile's own seeker to get better data. 2 48N6DM missiles screamed skyward, but physics became Ukraine's unsung ally. The drones instantly plunged to just 10 meters above the churning Baltic waves. The giant missiles tried to follow, but their control fins stalled in the dense, low air. They lost all control and tumbled, uselessly, into the water. Strike one for the Beavers. The S-400 crew switched to a brutal alternative, 9 M96E2 missiles, equipped with tiny rocket engines that let them pull 60 Gs and turn 90 degrees without air. They could chase a target right down to wave height. The lead Beaver banked hard left. The missile computed the intercept. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. The warhead detonated, sending 200 tungsten fragments ripping through the air, turning the drone into a confetti of carbon fiber. A second missile found another target, 2 more down. But the resulting debris cloud, hundreds of pieces of wreckage scattered, masked the survivors, turning 13 radar returns into hundreds. The remaining 13 fractured and scattered like shrapnel. The Russian defenders had anticipated this chaos. They had already positioned 4 Pantsir systems in an overlapping field of fire, a kill box. No matter where the drones flew, they would enter someone's engagement zone. The Pantsir is the close-in goalkeeper, the last line of defense. They used a different, more deliberate philosophy. Shoot, look, shoot. Fire one missile, see the result, adjust, fire again. The first Pantsir launched a missile at the leader. The drones immediately executed a wagon wheel maneuver, spiraling around a common center point while maintaining forward momentum. This constantly changing aspect angle broke the missile's navigation system. The weapon missed. The gunner switched to his twin-barrel 30mm cannons, firing 5,000 rounds per minute. He didn't chase individuals. He created a beaten zone, a cube of airspace filled with so much lead that anything passing through would be pulverized. 4 drones entered, 2 emerged, 4 more lost, 9 drones remained. The port was still ahead. On command screens across the region, similar battles raged simultaneously. Every air defense battery was tied down. There would be no reinforcements. The Russians here were on their own. The hardest part approached. The Kasuka-4 electronic warfare vehicle. It looked like a shipping container, but held $20 million of jamming equipment. As the 9 survivors neared Ust-Luga, the system activated. The electromagnetic spectrum was instantly flooded with screaming interference. The Kasuka seeks to overwhelm control frequencies with noise like a megaphone blasting static next to your ear. The Russian operators identified the 2.4 GHz transmission and focused their massive 20-watt beam, creating a solid wall of noise. But the Beavers were smarter. They were frequency hopping, jumping between 128 different channels per second. The Russians countered with a sledgehammer, barrage jamming. Forget finding the needle, set the whole haystack on fire. This should have severed the control link completely. But the drones kept flying. They had switched to autonomous mode, navigating by comparing radar altimeter readings to preloaded topographic maps. They knew exactly where they were without any external signal. But autonomy had a blind spot. 3 drones, flying on a mathematical ghost of the past, flew directly into a massive, unmapped construction crane. Carbon fiber versus steel never has a happy ending. 3 more down. 6 survivors continued, but the telemetry was damning. 18% battery remaining. They had enough power to reach the target, but nothing left for evasive maneuvers. They had 1 shot. The S-400 commander faced an economic nightmare. He was ordered to switch to the Zu-23 anti-aircraft guns. These 1960s-era cannons had cheap ammo, $3 a pound, cost-effective destruction. The problem? These old guns required optical targeting. The Beavers flew at 150 kilometers per hour, executing a random barrel barrel roll every few seconds. The computer needed 3 seconds of steady flight to calculate a solution. It never got it. The gunners resorted to World War II tactics, filling the sky with blazing tracers. One lucky burst caught a drone mid-roll. One more down, 5 drones remained. The rising temperature was turning the fog, which had been their friend, into a spectral enemy. It enveloped the battlefield, turning million-dollar sensors worthless. The Pantsir thermal imager was defeated by the fog. Detection range dropped to a mere 200 meters. The defenders switched to firing blind at pre-calculated GPS coordinates. The 5 Ukrainian drones descended to 3 meters above the waves. Salt spray blinded their cameras. They were flying on faith and mathematics alone. Then the Russians activated their GPS spoofing system, broadcasting powerful, false position signals. 2 drones, trusting the lie, banked hard right and flew directly into the water. 2 more lost. 3 drones remained, held on course by their backup inertial navigation systems, defying the GPS lies. Port security forces on the rooftops waited with Igla-S shoulder-fired missiles. The Beaver's tiny engine ran only 40 degrees above ambient temperature, nearly invisible against the warm Baltic fog. The troops resorted to ambush, waiting until they heard a drone pass, then shooting from behind. One missile found its mark. The drone spiraled down into a storage tank farm. One final loss. 2 survivors pressed on. An Mi-8 helicopter thundered overhead, door gunners hosing shadows with PKM machine guns. The pilot tried to use his rotor downwash to smash the drones into obstacles. The downwash worked, but it also momentarily cleared patches of fog, giving the operators a precious, fleeting glimpse of their target. The massive cryogenic processing complex. The facility's automated safety system screamed into emergency protocols. They began venting methane and ethane, releasing a massive, invisible cloud of flammable gas. The defenders had inadvertently created the perfect conditions for a devastating fuel-air explosion. One drone flew directly into a column of industrial water, its propeller snapping like a twig. It tumbled harmlessly onto the concrete. The penultimate drone is gone. The final Beaver adjusted its course. Its thermal camera locked onto the unmistakable signature of the cryogenic processor, minus 163 degrees Celsius. The operator, now flying on an Iridium satellite link, accepted the 2-second delay that made precision nearly impossible. 12% battery life remained. 90 seconds of flight. He traced a weaving path through the maze, each turn burning precious power. A pellet cluster shattered the camera. Through the static, he caught glimpses. The cryogenic fractionation unit, the vulnerable heart of the complex. The water jet caught the tail, spinning it violently. The gyroscope screamed, motors fighting for stabilization, draining the last reserves. Battery, 5%. He had one chance. He pushed the nose down, converting the last bit of altitude into speed, diving toward the target's base. The emergency venting had created a perfect, invisible cloud of methane and ethane. The drone carried a 20-kilogram thermite-enhanced warhead, which burns at 2,500 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt through steel in seconds. Thermite cannot be extinguished by water. 3 seconds to impact. The battery died completely. The drone was silent. It glided the final 50 meters on pure momentum, a deadly messenger of Newton's laws. The final Beaver struck the fractionation column's base, exactly where the operator had aimed. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then the thermite ignited. The initial explosion was a blinding white-hot flare that burned through the column wall in 2 seconds. Then, the vented cloud ignited. The fuel-air explosion expanded at 3,000 meters per second, a crushing overpressure wave that pulverized every window for a kilometer. The fireball rose 200 meters. This was the beginning. The $2 billion complex suffered a BLEVE, a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion, a cascade of destruction that consumed the entire complex in minutes. The fire would burn for 6 days, a massive pillar of smoke visible from the Estonian border, the mark of Ukraine's deepest and most brutal strike yet. If you like deep dive in military, please don't forget, like, subscribe, and share it for more informative videos. Thanks for watching.